After 3 years of secret marriage with Professor, he started an affair with Skylar. The day Skylar, visibly pregnant, showed up at our door, Professor stood in front of her and told me, "She's not like you. She's innocent. You only care about money, but she loves me for who I am." Later, after our divorce, I reported him for academic misconduct, which led to him being expelled from academia. I left that innocent Skylar with a disgraced professor, thereby fulfilling their tragic romance. Skylar wasn't pleased. She cried, claiming the child wasn't his, and begged me to take the bald, middle-aged man back home. "Grace, you've had a child before. You understand a mother's heart. I don't want my baby to be an orphan. Please, can you just give me Professor?" On our anniversary, the person knocking on the door wasn't Marcus, but a heavily pregnant woman. The woman's first words were a plea. Hearing her, my head started buzzing. Although I had a secret marriage, our relationship was stable. This woman was already visibly pregnant, so if the child was truly Marcus's, their affair must have been going on for more than 6 months. I quickly composed myself. Spreading rumors is illegal. If you can't prove that the child in your belly is Marcus's, I'll call the police. My tone was firm, and I made to dial the police. The woman wasn't scared at all. She pulled out her phone and showed me. Her phone's photo gallery was packed with pictures of her and Marcus. There were photos from various settings, even kissing pictures taken in the university office. "He's already taken me home to meet his parents, and his mother really likes me," the woman said, cradling her belly. A sweet smile plastered across her face. The situation before me couldn't have been clearer. Not only did Marcus have Skylar on the side, but he'd also allowed her to come confront me. Every word, designed to infuriate me, must have been whispered to her by Marcus himself. So, on the day I was eagerly anticipating a candlelight dinner, he was secretly plotting with Skylar how to quickly force me out. In that moment, a surge of anger rushed through me, and I pointed at the door. "Get out! You're not welcome here. Please, I'm begging you. I truly can't live without Professor," the woman cried, tears streaming down her face, and actually knelt before me. In over 20 years of life, I'd seen my share of utterly shameless people, but never anyone quite this utterly shameless. I grabbed the broom from the living room. Today, I was absolutely going to kick out this trash. "You trash. Get out of my house." My face was contorted with disgust. Marcus had the audacity to commit infidelity. How could he possibly have the nerve to send Skylar here to gloat in front of me? "Grace, she's pregnant. How can you be so vicious?" Marcus, who had arrived precisely on time, snatched the broom from my hand without a word. He showed no remorse, instead starting to insult me. "Marcus, you're a professor. For goodness sake, you let Skylar scream at your wife. Is that truly a professor's values?" I nearly choked, stunned by his shamelessness. I don't know what I said that struck a nerve, but he instantly snapped, his voice growing louder as he shouted, "She's not like you. She's innocent. You only care about money, but she loves me for who I am." It was as if I was meeting Marcus for the very first time. I loved money? We were college sweethearts. Back then, his family wasn't well off. Even though we were a couple, I felt for him, and I covered many of our expenses. Later, we had a secret marriage. Because his salary wasn't high, I switched from designer handbags to more affordable ones. When he wanted to study for exams, I let him stay home to prepare while I went out to work and covered our living expenses. Even for him to attain his current position as a professor, I had silently helped him countless times behind the scenes. And now, this was my reward, being told I only loved money. Skylar was now nestled in Marcus's arms, leaning weakly against him, and flashed me a triumphant smile, knowingly being the other woman. "Are you proud of that? As long as Marcus and I aren't divorced, your child will be an illegitimate child," I said, laughing in anger. They claimed everything was for the child, yet they showed no concern for the child's reputation. Sure enough, when Skylar heard my words, her face immediately darkened. She anxiously grabbed Marcus. "Professor, you can't let our child be an illegitimate child. You promised me." Now she's worried? What was she doing before? "It doesn't matter what you were promised. Right now, your child is an illegitimate child," I stated coldly. "Grace, our secret marriage is known to very few people, and our divorce won't affect your chances of marrying again. Look, Skylar already has a child. Couldn't you consider it for the child's sake?" Marcus said, his words heartfelt, though insincere. Listening to him now, I felt nothing but hypocrisy. Just because we had a secret marriage and it wouldn't affect my future marriage, my 7 years of devotion could be simply wiped clean? What kind of world offers such a convenient solution? Margaret appeared at the doorway at that moment, smiling broadly, trying hard to be a peacemaker. Grace, isn't this all because you couldn't have children? Marcus is the only son to carry on the family name, and you're part of our family. Are you really going to stand by and watch the family name end with us? I found it a bit amusing and countered Margaret. What? Do you have a throne to inherit? How could Marcus's excellent genes not be passed on? Margaret said, growing agitated. Although she didn't curse directly, her gaze towards me had become clearly hostile. At that moment, Skylar touched her belly and looked at me with a triumphant gleam in her eyes. I knew this woman wanted to flaunt the child in her womb, to prove that Marcus and Margaret would both side with her. And sure enough, when Margaret saw Skylar's gesture, her expression immediately changed. After all, Skylar was carrying their family's grandson. They had brought the drama right to my doorstep, not only sending Skylar, heavily pregnant, to provoke me, but also involving Margaret. It was clear they wanted a divorce. Given the circumstances, my marriage to Marcus no longer had any reason to exist. All right, I'll agree to a divorce. I nodded. Instantly, all three of them looked at me with fervent anticipation. Grace, don't worry. We won't treat you unfairly. We'll just split your assets evenly, Margaret said, beaming, finally happy. As if I hadn't heard Margaret, I looked at Marcus, enunciating each word. As long as you leave with nothing, then a divorce can certainly happen. What? Skylar immediately raised her voice, staring at me with a look of utter disbelief. Margaret, her raspy voice screeching, yelled, "Don't even think about it. You're living off Marcus's money right now, and you expect us to leave with nothing? How vicious can you be?" Margaret cursed and ranted, looking as if she wanted to lunge at me and tear my mouth open. I chuckled softly. Marcus knew perfectly well whose house this truly was. Grace, I admit I was wrong first, and I can concede a little, but asking me to leave with nothing is simply too much, Marcus said, his tone softening slightly, but his meaning was clear. He wanted half the assets. But why should he? I paid for most of this house, and the renovations afterward were also my expense. Although paid a down payment, it was only 100,000, and he still had the nerve? After seeing this family, I finally understood the meaning of utterly shameless. However, with the baby not yet born and me lacking concrete evidence, simply divorcing and forcing him to leave with nothing was clearly impossible. In that case, we have nothing to discuss. If you don't agree to my terms for dividing the assets, I won't divorce you. My expression stern, I promptly kicked them out. Margaret immediately opened her mouth and called me a shrew. I sneered. Go ahead. Make a scene. Make it big enough for all the neighbors to come and see the true character of a dignified university professor. Yes, we had a secret marriage, but our marriage certificate clearly states our marital status. And if you push me too far, I promise you, your child will remain an illegitimate child. I stated unequivocally, this was their family's child, and they certainly didn't want him to be an illegitimate child. So, despite all of Margaret's and Marcus's reluctance, they had no choice but to leave. Divorce was inevitable, but absolutely not right now. I composed myself and went back to work. But unlike before, this time I sought out a lawyer first. I needed to understand the entire divorce process and how exactly to gather useful evidence. The lawyer I found was very professional and explained a lot to me. I listened carefully, taking notes on everything. It seemed the most crucial step now was to collect evidence of Marcus's infidelity. Of course, this wouldn't force him to leave with nothing entirely, but with this evidence, I could make him sign the divorce settlement, voluntarily giving up his assets. I began my investigation, initially thinking Marcus would be staying with Skylar, but to my surprise, he was staying with his mother. He wasn't a fool, it seemed. He was probably keeping Skylar well hidden to prevent me from finding any leverage. He maintained a regular work schedule, showing no outward signs of anything unusual. It seemed impossible to get anything from Marcus directly. While I was figuring out how to collect evidence of Marcus's infidelity, he came to me first. At home, we sat facing each other. Grace, we've been together for 7 years. Do you really want to end up like this? He asked, his face etched with pain, as if I were some unforgivable villain. I struggled to keep the disgust off my face. Marcus, you're the one who wants to erase the past. Didn't you say I loved money? You've already placed such a heavy accusation on my head. How could I not live up to it? Grace, if only you could get pregnant and give me a son, we wouldn't be in this situation today. Why don't you reflect on your own issues? Marcus started again. He made me laugh in anger. I'd met shameless people before, but never anyone this utterly shameless. So you commit infidelity, and you think you're justified? I took a deep breath, looking at the sanctimonious man before me. I know I was wrong, so I promised to give you a little more in assets. Take a look at this divorce settlement, Marcus said, pulling out a new divorce settlement from his person. Our car would go to him, the house to me, but all the cash had to be his. I watched him claim this was perfectly fair, that he was even making concessions. But in reality, more than half the cash was mine. When we bought the car, he wanted an expensive model, something prestigious. So although he gritted his teeth to pay the down payment, I helped with all the subsequent loan payments. As for the house, he'd only contributed 10%. He'd told me before that he needed to spend money on experiments and various self-improvement initiatives, which was why he contributed less. He had really worked out a clever scheme. On the surface, he was giving me the most expensive asset, the house, but in reality, over 90% of it was already mine. After all, I had overseen all the renovations and furnishings myself. I absolutely won't agree, Marcus. If you truly want Skylar to take my place, then you leave with nothing. Otherwise, we have nothing to discuss. I refused firmly. Seeing that I was utterly unyielding, Marcus stormed off. Before leaving, he told me, after all these years, I really misjudged you. You truly are a woman who only cares about money. He was the one who looked utterly disappointed. He was convinced I had no evidence and couldn't do anything to him, so he intended to drag this out. After all, I had always been someone who couldn't tolerate injustice. I had told him before that I found infidelity repulsive. So, if he ever stopped loving me, he could just tell me, and I would leave. I had also said that if he ever kept it from me, I would make sure he left with nothing. Back then, he readily agreed, telling me such a day would never come. He completely forgot his promises. And now, utterly shameless, he wanted to claim even more from me. The more I thought about it, the more disgusted I became. I couldn't tolerate this relationship for another minute. But I had no evidence now. Marcus was hiding his tracks so well that I couldn't get anything on him. However, infidelity isn't just one person's business. I quickly devised a new plan. I took an old photo of Marcus and me having dinner and posted it on social media. The caption was simple. Just a few words, a happiness only we understand. After posting that social media post, I went back to work. My days seemed no different than before. In fact, by immersing myself more in work, I even got a promotion. The only difference was that now I made a social media post every day, each one detailing how incredibly happy I was. Finally, after a week of continuous posts, my private investigator sent me a message. Marcus had finally couldn't resist and gone shopping with Skylar. He was even using our joint credit card to buy Skylar a gold necklace. The two of them were at a jewelry store right now. I asked the private investigator to send me the address, and I immediately took time off and rushed over. At the mall, Margaret was also there. The way the three of them were acting, it was clearly a family outing. Margaret was all smiles, standing beside Skylar, saying this and that to keep her happy. When they saw me appear, none of the three looked pleased. Skylar was the first to speak. Didn't you say Professor had been taking you shopping recently? But I heard Professor has been with his mother lately and hasn't gone back at all? She had a smug smile, as if she wanted to see me jealous that Marcus was with her. Unfortunately, the moment Marcus committed infidelity and let her come to me pregnant and cause a scene, my feelings for him had already been completely exhausted. All I wanted now was to protect my own assets. If I'm not mistaken, that necklace you just bought is our marital joint property. My single sentence was a decisive blow. Skylar's face immediately fell. After all, everyone knew that in this day and age, items bought with marital joint property could be reclaimed. Skylar, isn't it? You'd better return that necklace yourself. Otherwise, that receipt will be evidence of your infidelity. I chuckled. Hearing this, Skylar immediately clutched the necklace around her neck. Professor, you already gave it to me. She looked very wronged, and her other hand went to touch her belly. That was her only leverage. Grace, don't go too far. Marcus immediately stepped forward to defend Skylar. Margaret, moreover, pulled Skylar closer, her eyes fixed on me with a warning gaze. The private investigator had just informed me of their situation. They had just come from the hospital. Presumably, the pregnant woman's emotions were unstable, which was why they had brought Skylar out shopping, hoping to calm her down. Of course, even more importantly, they wanted to protect the fetus she was carrying. I'm going too far? You're the one shopping with Skylar right now. Believe me, if I make a scene, someone will immediately film our situation and post it online. Do you think the university administration will see it then? I cut in, addressing Marcus. Are you threatening me? Marcus seemed utterly incredulous. After all, in the past, I had been completely gentle and virtuous in front of him, let alone saying anything confrontational. I admired Marcus's talent back then, so I was essentially completely obedient. I didn't even need Marcus to ask. I would proactively do anything that benefited him. Perhaps I had been too considerate of him over those 7 years, leading Marcus to believe that I would instinctively protect him no matter what. I ignored Marcus, turning instead to Skylar. Don't think that just because you're pregnant, everything's fine. As long as I don't divorce him, I can take back everything he's given you. Don't worry. I've already hired private investigators to collect evidence. My salary is decent. Hiring a few private investigators is a piece of cake. I clearly saw Skylar's face twist with fury when she heard my words. She looked as if she wanted to lunge at me and tear me apart. How dare you? I'm carrying Professor's child. He has inheritance rights. She fumed. I remained as calm as before. Inheritance rights are only valid after death. As long as he's alive, these things are mine. Ah, get out of my face. You vicious woman. Skylar completely lost it, screaming and yelling. Marcus and Margaret immediately rushed over to support Skylar. Skylar, don't get upset. Be careful with the baby, Margaret said, frantic. That child was her most treasured possession. Divorce him. Professor, please divorce her. Skylar started sobbing uncontrollably. Margaret nervously tried to comfort her. Skylar, you can't cry. It's bad for the baby when a pregnant woman cries. That's right. An illegitimate child is already pitiful enough. If you cry so much something happens, won't that make him even more pitiful? I chimed in, taking over from Margaret, which only made Skylar cry even harder. She kept tugging at Marcus, demanding he divorce me right now and not delay any further. I watched the whole spectacle as if it were a show. The moment Marcus seemed to be on the verge of giving in, I immediately pulled the divorce settlement from my bag. As long as you sign my agreement, we can get divorced right away. Skylar's eyes lit up at the sight. She couldn't take it anymore. She just wanted Marcus to sign the divorce settlement and divorce me right now so he could marry her. I was also quite eager. After all, she was carrying their family's grandchild and causing such a fuss. Surely, the family would finally give in. To my surprise, Marcus didn't take the pen from my hand. Instead, he went to comfort Skylar. Skylar, I will divorce her. We already agreed to this. Just don't worry for now. Wait for me. Why shouldn't I be in a hurry? Professor, are you regretting this? But you were the one who disagreed when I wanted to get rid of the baby. Skylar shrieked. Pa, 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 what do you mean get rid of the baby? Skylar, you can't say such things. Margaret immediately spat, then came over to persuade Marcus. Just divorce her soon. My precious grandson can't be put at risk. Mom, she'll only agree if I leave with nothing, Marcus said, pulling his mother aside. At this point, Margaret also started cursing, calling me greedy and insatiable. I couldn't be bothered with them. They could say whatever they wanted. Unfortunately, Marcus still couldn't bring himself to leave with nothing. He and Margaret left, taking a crying Skylar with them. I watched the scene with a cold smile. Anyway, I wasn't in a hurry for the divorce. I wasn't the one who was pregnant, and living in such a large house all by myself was incredibly comfortable. I left, but the private investigator remained, so I knew Skylar continued to cause trouble for Marcus, even threatening to get rid of their baby. That evening, I received a call from Marcus. Grace, revise your divorce settlement. The house goes to you, the car to me, and the cash is split evenly. He was gritting his teeth on the other end of the line. It seemed this was his biggest concession, but it wasn't what I wanted. There's no way I'm changing the divorce settlement. Agree to it, and we divorce. If not, go ahead and sue for divorce. I just wonder if Skylar's baby can wait that long. To think a dignified university professor's own child would end up being born an illegitimate child. That seems rather interesting, I said, my undisguised mockery carrying over the phone. On the other end of the line, I heard Skylar's shouting again. I was annoyed, and they were annoyed. Perfect. 3 days later, Marcus finally couldn't take it anymore. He signed my divorce settlement, agreeing to divorce me. He voluntarily relinquished his assets. Outside the county's office, Skylar glared at me viciously. You vicious woman. Marcus is a professor. Even if you take all his assets, you can't take away his abilities. Oh, really? I sneered, offering no further explanation. Now single, I had no desire to watch these two clowns prance around in front of me. After my divorce was finalized, I saw Skylar and Marcus's marriage certificate on a social media post. They had even posted on social media, tagging each other. I knew then that Skylar must be on my friends list. Many people on social media were asking when Marcus would hold a wedding. Many of them I knew, and a few were aware of Marcus and my secret marriage. No wonder they were friends. They were all cut from the same cloth. Half a month later, Marcus was exposed for academic fraud. The moment the first news broke, Marcus started calling me frantically. Grace, are you insane? I could hear Marcus roaring through the phone. Yes, some of his papers and research were not his own work at all. You see, we were classmates from the same university and even in the same major, so I actually knew how to do all the research and papers Marcus needed. I just didn't want to be a professor. I enjoyed a professional career, so everything I had done, I gave to Marcus. After all, we were married, and if he became a professor, it would help our lives. Of course, Marcus wasn't satisfied after I helped him. He sought even more opportunities. He wanted to create a perfect image for himself. I had advised him against it before, but he told me everyone did it, that he was doing it for our future, and to stay out of his business. He even argued with me over it. He even claimed that as his wife, I didn't wish him well in this matter. He said he did it for me, but now, Skylar, heavily pregnant, was nestled against him. I remembered all this. Even if I didn't want to be a teacher, that academic work shouldn't have been solely his. I hung up on Marcus and immediately blocked his number. I truly didn't want to waste any more time on such a scumbag. The next second, my WhatsApp was bombarded with messages from a woman. You ugly woman. You're just jealous of the happy life professor and I have now. I'm telling you, you'd better clear this up, or I'll sue you for defamation. Dead woman. Did you see that? Go immediately to the media, clarify everything, and apologize to Professor. How can there be such a vicious woman like you in this world? No wonder you couldn't have children. What child would want such a vicious mother? Skylar was messaging me like a maniac. Unfortunately, I didn't reply to a single message. When I saw the last message, my resolve to report him grew even stronger, and I provided more evidence. Since she loved it so much, of course, I had to give her more evidence. And of course, I wasn't the only one with evidence. After I made my revelations, Sam, one of Marcus's former students, immediately came forward with his own accusations. He had plagiarized students' papers, forcibly added his name to their work, and even fabricated data. He was truly a vile person, involved in every kind of deception. Initially, Skylar stubbornly insisted she would call the police and accuse me of slander. But now, after seeing what kind of person Marcus truly was, she completely panicked. She called me. Please, just take Marcus back. I don't want him anymore. She was crying miserably on the phone, but I ignored her and blocked her number. After all, this was the tragic romance she had sought. How could I not let it play out? Marcus was quickly expelled from academia. He was already overwhelmed by the whole affair and had no mind to bother me. I was happily living my life, but to my surprise, when I came home from work one day, I saw Skylar standing at my door. The moment she saw me, she rushed forward. Please, I'm begging you. Can you and Marcus get back together? She pleaded, heavily pregnant and crying miserably. I stepped away from her and said seriously, you and Marcus have true love, and you're carrying your love child. How could I possibly do such a thing? No, I don't love him. He's utterly full of hypocrisy. Please, I'm begging you, just get back together. Skylar shook her head frantically. I found it increasingly amusing. After she found out what kind of person Marcus was, she wanted me to continue being trapped in that miserable situation. Why should I? Sister, I'm just a student right now. I can't let anyone know about my marriage to Marcus. My life shouldn't be ruined like this. She continued. She sounded pitiful, but I felt no compassion. She certainly wasn't saying that when she was lording it over me before. Her so-called true love was nothing more than wanting to leverage Professor's name and have him help her academically, now that Marcus was suspended for investigation. Her previously claimed true love proved to be so fragile and easily shattered. Your business has nothing to do with me. If you bother me again, I'll call security, I said, and then went home. As I went upstairs, I saw Marcus and Margaret approaching. As soon as Margaret arrived, she immediately focused on Skylar's belly, scolding her for being out like this and risking harm to her precious grandson. Listening to them, for a moment, my heart was filled with relief. It was a good thing I didn't have children. Otherwise, with the way this family thought, I couldn't imagine how my child would turn out. After the divorce, my overall mental state improved significantly, and with no distractions, I excelled even more at work. Every time we had a meeting, David would praise me and tell everyone to learn from me. They even invited me to participate in certain events. Grace, pack up. You're coming with me for a project in the Western region this time. Yes. I never slacked off when it came to work. After told me, I immediately packed my things and went with him to discuss the project. The project went surprisingly smoothly. The moment the contract was signed, I felt a genuine sense of happiness. It was that feeling of satisfaction you get when your hard work pays off. Grace, you've been doing great work lately. I'll give you a bonus once the project is finished, David said generously. I happily expressed my gratitude. After all, it was a result of my own efforts. To my surprise, when I returned home that evening, Margaret rushed out. Everyone, come look! It's this vicious woman. She's been hooking up with David, and even after divorcing my son, she still couldn't stand to see him succeed. She committed marital infidelity and has been with countless men. Margaret's voice was loud, instantly drawing a crowd of curious onlookers. I froze. I never imagined Margaret would be so utterly shameless as to falsely paint her son as the victim of infidelity. With her wailing and carrying on, anyone who saw her would surely say Margaret was a pitiful woman. After all, she also claimed I was a daughter-in-law they had spent a lot of money to marry, and that I was the one who committed infidelity, leaving them no choice but to agree to my divorce from Marcus. How truly shameless. Marcus was clearly the one who committed infidelity, and now they were trying to smear my reputation. And the most ridiculous part, Margaret's supposed evidence of infidelity was a secretly taken photo of me and David from our recent business meeting. A surge of anger rose within me. I never imagined she could be so vicious. I immediately called the media. Hearing the news, the media arrived quickly, reaching the scene in no time. At that moment, Margaret was still busy trying to smear my reputation, spewing all sorts of filthy language. The crowd's eagerness to watch the spectacle only grew. Of course, many people were already pointing fingers at me. As the media aimed their cameras at me, I spoke up. This is the mother of the recently notorious professor. If you want to know how a mother could raise a son involved in academic misconduct, feel free to ask her anything. You dead woman. What are you talking nonsense about? Who told you to call these reporters? Margaret immediately shouted, raising her hand as if to hit me. Unfortunately, she never got the chance. The moment she raised her hand, reporters surged forward, thrusting microphones into Margaret's face. The reporters eagerly questioned, "Are you truly Professor's mother? Why did Professor plagiarize so many students' works? Do you have anything to say to these students?" The reporters fired questions relentlessly. Margaret was cornered and screamed frantically, "Get lost! You've all been tricked by that wicked woman. My son is such an excellent person. How could he possibly be involved in academic fraud? Just now, she was casually slandering me, claiming I was having an affair with another man. It was just a normal business meeting, but she's twisting it into something scandalous. After this, what woman would dare to go out for a business meeting?" My words immediately resonated with many in the crowd. Exactly. Women already have it much harder than men in a professional career, and now they're being slandered like this. The old woman was spewing such foul language just now. She can't be a good person. Didn't they say this is Marcus's mother? What kind of person could raise such a son? The crowd's discussions were quite audible, and their words clearly reached Margaret's ears. She instantly became a shrew, yelling at the top of her lungs, "You're all slandering my son. What's this talk of plagiarism? Don't make it sound so awful. My son is a professor. Didn't he teach those students everything they know? What's wrong with putting his name on it?" Everyone was stunned by Margaret's values, and this interview video immediately went viral online. There was a storm of condemnation online. Now everyone was cursing Marcus and his family. Soon after, someone leaked information that Marcus had been in a secret marriage with his girlfriend for 3 years, after dating for 4, a total of 7 years, only to then allow Skylar to cause a scene in front of his wife. As soon as this revelation came out, Marcus's reputation became even more tarnished. I had blocked all his numbers, but he was so furious that he often resorted to using friends' phones to harass me. In response, I simply changed my phone number and applied to David for a transfer to another city. As for the previous house, every time I remembered him committing infidelity with other women while he was still with me, I felt disgusted. So I sold the house. I bought a house in another city. Some people, being with them is like having a negative past. Even occasionally thinking about it makes you feel sick. I heard that Skylar later gave birth to Marcus's son. When and Skylar registered their marriage, Skylar's parents didn't even know. She had stolen their marriage certificate. Now that everything was exposed, her family saw what kind of person Marcus was and insisted on taking their daughter back home. As for the little boy, he was also taken back by the mother's family, who refused to let Marcus see him. I heard Margaret is completely unhinged these days, telling everyone she meets how excellent her son is. He was at the top of his class from childhood, then got into a prestigious university, excelled in his academic research, and is now a university professor. Everyone just shakes their heads at this, because everyone knows that Marcus had been dismissed from his position. No university would hire someone guilty of academic misconduct. His days as a professor are definitively over. Margaret probably couldn't accept this reality, so she simply forgot the subsequent events and still believes her son is a professor. As for Marcus, he lost his job and was exposed by former students. He was immediately subjected to widespread cyberbullying, becoming utterly dejected and spending his days just drinking at home. But who's to blame? We were perfectly fine originally. It was his own dissatisfaction with his life at the time that made him want to change. What are you thinking about, Grace? Liam, the new intern, asked in the office, his face full of curiosity. He was a very diligent graduate, tall and strongly built. I smiled at him. I'm thinking that people can live very happily if they just find contentment. Absolutely, Grace, Liam said. Let me tell you, even though my monthly salary is $1,800, I'm always cheerful. He immediately flashed a brilliant smile at me. I smiled along with him. My life is just beginning. And what's more, my salary is much higher than $1,800. I have the ability to ensure I live a comfortable life. I picked up the documents from the desk and tapped them against his chest. Get promoted soon, I said. Stop making $1,800. Aim for $18,000. Yes, sir, Liam replied playfully. I shook my head, amused. These new graduates really are interesting. It's true. I definitely couldn't be a stay-at-home spouse. Only in a professional career can I find the happiness and confidence I deserve. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.